Hi, I'm Linda Deir, the author of Guided. Her spirit guide angels were her best friends and life coaches. Guided is my true life story and winner of the 2017 International Body, Mind, Spirit Book Award. Since before I was 2 years old, I've seen, communicated with, and even photographed my spirit guide angels. In Guided, I use my own life as a template to teach you what I have learned from these loving, intelligent spirits. Most importantly, I show you how to make this connection to your own spirit guides and angels so you can live a guided life, a life free of fear and doubt, the life you intended to live before you got here. Crossroads. You felt a silent void, one that made you feel sad and alone. I will take you back to the time in your young life when you reached a crossroads. You were the only one who remembered us. This was the first time you felt totally alone. Even though you knew we were real, it was impossible to explain us to others. So you started doubting yourself and even us. You started pushing us away. So let's get started. Now, you second-guessed yourself all the time. You questioned yourself and even us. Fear and doubt were interrupting every thought and activity in your life. You felt something slipping away, and no matter what you did, you couldn't hold on to it. You did not want our time together to end. It felt like none of this mattered to those around you, and that seemed to be just fine with them. This is what made this loss even worse and the loneliness more intense. You were giving something up, leaving it behind, and even pretending it didn't exist. You were feeling separate from something you couldn't even explain. You were processing the idea that by letting go of your connection to us, you were no longer a baby because you were growing out of that imaginary time in your life. That was the message you got from everyone else, like a rite of passage. Forcing yourself to push us away made you feel weak and needy. This separation made you feel lost for the first time since your arrival here. Now all you had was this world. It felt like you just got dropped off and left to fend for yourself. You not only felt lonely, but it felt like a combination of separation and abandonment, all rolled up into one. This instantly filled you up with fear and doubt because part of you was now missing. What happened to those who believed in you? Those who always showed you new things as you explored and played in their presence. Your best friends were gone. Now you had to make new friends here in this world, but it was never the same as the best friends you left behind. Learning was never as much fun because now you were being told what to do and think. This was a stark difference between the way you used to learn and do things. It would take you some time to adjust to this very different way of doing things. In your longing for what was missing, you would always imagine finding best friends like us again. This crossroads time in your life felt like you had one foot in both worlds, but the one you came from was being pulled away like a tide going out to sea. It seemed to have a life of its own as it slipped away. The stigmas associated with maintaining a foothold in both worlds would cause others to label you as an oddball. The need to fit in is what caused you to choose one way or the other in the first place. Ever since you pushed us away, you felt a silent void, amplifying your concern about what others thought or said about you. Fear and self-doubt began to dominate your life. Not only was this a sad and lonely time for you, it was the first time you felt completely alone. Although you had hit this massive crossroads in your young life, no one else noticed it. The void inside of you would remain for many years to come. No matter how hard you looked, no one in this world would ever be able to fill it. This is how you would find us again.
Okay. Whoa, heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Child has a crossroads early in their life that nobody notices. Yeah. I mean, they have other crossroads as they get older, specific times, and we'll get to that later. But
this isn't one that anyone talks about or expected.
Right. The child experiences it, the parents don't.
Well, the parents did when they were a child.
Right, they did when they were a child.
They just forgot. That's why it's never talked about, because it was pushed away.
Okay. So crossroads, when you look at them, are basically a turning point. You know, you come up to the crossroads and you can go this way, left or right. You can, take door number 1 or door number 2. You don't know much about either one. That's where the second guessing comes in. You mentioned second guessing. Do I do this or do I do that? Well, what if I do this? What'll happen? What if I do that?
Okay.
That's where the second guessing kind of starts in your life.
It is.
Right?
It is.
Okay.
So, what do you have is that a question, Ray?
No, there's kind of an observation. It's kind of your opportunity to.
Before that, but here's where I want to go.
Okay.
Okay. Before that second guessing even has a chance to strike a note. All right, to even exist. You, in your natural state of being connected, not separate from where you came from, and being in both worlds and enjoying the ride, is you step into, here's the crossroads, and you say, and you just kind of feel it out, you just kind of walk up to it, it's not new, you didn't just wind up at a crossroads, you knew it was coming, you got signals and signs along the way, and there you were at the crossroads at the moment that you found yourself there, when still connected from the other side, all right? You just knew, you followed the flow, and you went into the direction that you felt urged to go. So you didn't second guess yourself. You didn't worry about, if it was right or wrong, or if this was allowed or not, or whatever. You just felt your way through it, because after all, you were still connected. You were not alone, and you knew it. So you didn't doubt yourself, and you weren't running on fear. What Ray's talking about, you hit that crossroads. By the time you hit that crossroads, like what I talked about in the opening of this today, is when you hit it, you have all this turmoil going on in you, the pressure from this world, and the inability to explain it. So how can you defend it? How can you hold on to it? How can you make sense of it? How can you even believe it anymore, right? That's where you start weighing things, and you start reasoning more than feeling it, okay? Because this is your truth center right here, where you feel. So your truth center, where you came from, what you came in with, knowingness and feeling, is overridden by doubt, about questioning if you're doing the right thing, about you're not listening to this anymore. So basically what happened is you threw the baby out with the bathwater, because you didn't know that you didn't have to do that. But in doing that, I talked about in the early part of this, where if you did choose to keep your bearings and keep developing both, you would be looked at like an oddball. I mean, you would not be the normal type of a kid. And so there's the consequences that go with that.
I think you did that well when you were young, living in both worlds. In fact, that's the whole purpose of the book. That's the whole premise of the book.
It's the whole premise of my flagship book, Guided.
And what chapters? There's an entire chapter in there that talks about you being such an oddball by the time you got to school.
Right. And so what I do in Guided, it lets you know how I got through this, how I did it, how I held myself together. And there were consequences. But there's consequences either way you choose, right? And that book generated my guided journey, which is what we're talking about today. Today we are on page 9, Crossroads. Okay, so today we're halfway through part 2. That's at the end of today. So there's 18 pages to this, to getting you guys back, to putting yourself back together again. The world you came from and the world we're in. And start working in both worlds.
I made some notes as I was looking over what you were going to talk about today, and came up with a crossroads is not either good or bad. It's kind of an opportunity for you to embrace the moment. Okay? This is like your first challenge as a child.
That's true.
You're coming out. It doesn't mean you're a failure at that point. What it means is that you're basically unsure of what to do next. That's the second guessing. Do I go left or do I go right? All right? So I kind of looked at this road and this road as the shoulds and the must. There's things you should do, and there's things you must do. And you could choose either one to go through your life. And the people around you, society, wants you to follow the shoulds. You should go to school and get good grades. You should go to college. You should get married. You should have children. You should get a high-paying job. You should. But this must, the other road.
The urge.
The must.
That's the world you came from. The reason you came here. That's what Ray's talking about on the must road.
And all those musts are rooted in your childhood. That's where they started.
Well, you came in with them as well.
You came in with them, right. But what you've learned from your guides in your childhood, as you got to that point where you hit the crossroads for the first time, these are all from the experiences you've had as a child.
What happens when you hit the crossroads, even today, even every day that we live our lives as adults, we're going to know right where we are. Our own litmus test is we hit that crossroads, and are we doing the shoulds or the must? Are we working from, what society is expecting of you, or are you moving in the direction of your urge, of the reason you came here? Okay, are you being true to yourself, or have you sold out? That's basically what it comes down to. I can't nice this up, you guys. We know that as a child, you wanted to follow that urge. And when you were being chastised or punished or you got a bad grade or whatever, to be reprimanded for not doing the shoulds, not following the rules and doing it the way everyone expected you to do it, as opposed to following your bliss and being who you are. And it's almost like you can't help yourself. The really healthy kids that didn't give this up, they may not even know what to call it. They may not understand it at all. They just see it as who they are, really who they are, okay? And that's what it is. They didn't give it up. So when they follow this, they take on ridicule, and the kids laugh at them and tell them that they're not very smart, or, because this kid has far more going on than the other kids over here that just chose to do this life and just abandon that one completely. But no matter who we are and how far we maybe leaned this way or that way, some of us, even on this road, we will sneak over here and slip some of this in there because we can't help ourselves. It's a natural urge. It wants to do it. And you're guided to do it. So it's not even your fault. I mean, this is why you're here. You've got to do it. You've got to experiment. You've got to take the chance, the risk, and the consequences that go with it. So we all, no matter how well we do this over here, we all go, there's this part of me that still even though I'm good at this and I can master this, I got straight A's, whatever, I got all the kudos, I got the awards, whatever. Part of me, man, it's still missing something. I've got to go over here and follow this. You'll see this a lot with people who are really famous, like singers or actors. They go right into this and they're on a roll and they're not going to stop. But there comes a point when they just go, you know what, I'm going to cancel all my tours. We're seeing a lot more of that, where they're canceling their entire tour and they're going over here. Because they've got to get their heads back, their sanity back. They've got to get their soul back. And that's what's going on over here. But see, we don't have to be so manic where we're either here or over here, all right? What we need to do is remember that we are in both worlds and start letting them work together in however that shows up.
That's good. I like the fact that you mentioned singers and actors, because they had these urges, they had these experiences as a child. They loved to sing. They loved to put on little shows for the parents, and the relatives when they came over. And they grew up to be a singer or an actor. They followed their
Bliss.
Childhood experience.
They did. They
Okay.
did.
So this crossroads is an opportunity, if you follow the must side, to learn new experiences.
Oh yeah. When all you are is over here, you are really solid with your connection to your guidance. And the rest of it is just like, I'll be home, at 6 o'clock, or leave me alone. I mean, you're so busy not even knowing how to explain what busy is or what that was that drew you in, but that pulled you along, that just, it's like your yellow brick road. It's what you're drawn to do and you can't help it. When you're living your life like this as an adult and you're following your passions, everything you've been told over here on the Crossroads Road it's all about making money. How much money did you make? Okay, is your job stable? How big is your house? It's all that kind of stuff, all right? Over here, it doesn't really care about the money. I mean, if the money shows up, great, okay? But it doesn't care as much about the money as it cares about the journey that it's on. I'm talking about it as an energy. You are energy. You are all energy. And when you move, you let your energy just pour out over here. You know something, you guys? You won't get sick. You won't have problems, mental problems. You won't need to have addictions, except being addicted to your bliss. I mean, that's a good addiction. As opposed to over here where you just push yourself every day and after a while you don't even know why you're doing it anymore, but you need the money to pay the house payment. I mean, you become a slave to it, all right? It's not who you are.
Okay, so another difference there, and you touched on it there, is that the must road, to follow your bliss, comes from reflection. It comes from self-reflecting, going back to the time when you were a child and you learned all these new things from your guides through experiences, and you reflect upon them later on in your life when this urge is still there.
Right.
How many people in their early 50s and they become empty nesters? They did all the shoulds. I had the kids and I got the house and I got the job.
They got the shoulds out of the way.
Right.
I just have to say this
Sure.
one thing. When you're on the road of following your bliss, your urge, all right, you're not waiting for anything to get out of your way. Now you have more time to do it. Now you don't have to go make a living while you're trying to fit it in. Now you can just do this all the time.
How many people say, well, I can't wait till I work for this company for 30 years and I can retire and I can do what I want?
Right. But you know what they don't know? They don't know what they want. They think, because they've been shown all the shoulds, oh, I should go get a motorhome and I should go, travel, and I should, go visit the grandkids, and I should do all the shoulds, okay? But we didn't come here to live like that, you guys. When we came into this life, we came here to live a life of intention. Okay, that is not the should road. That is what you must do. It's the urge. It's the bliss. That's what you came here to experience. That's where you will experience no regrets. Over here, you'll experience regrets because it's like holding your breath. Over here, you're just breathing naturally. Everything's just happening in the moment. And you know what? You may not be the richest person, but you will be the most satisfied person, because that's why your soul brought you here. It's your soul that brought you here, that picked this body, that kind of shoved you in it, and gave you this vehicle to travel through this experience. It's your soul that came here to collect something. It can't bring a house home. It can't bring a bank account home. It's not interested in those things. It's interested in following your bliss, why you came here. And if you follow that, that is guidance. That is why you're here. You don't ever have to question it or ever second guess it.
So here's a comparison. The musts are things that you reflect on, things that you would journal about.
Yeah.
People don't journal
You know why?
what they should do.
Here's why. Because it's really important to you. The shoulds isn't important to you. Show up, go to work 5 days a week, done. Okay? I don't want to hear the phone ring. I don't want to be bothered by anybody. I'm burned out. All right? That's the difference.
And when you get together with friends, you don't sit around and talk about the musts. You do. Everybody talks about the shoulds. The shoulds are for people who live by comparisons.
Right.
Where the musts are for people who live by conviction.
That's exactly right. See, one's connected. The one that's bound by conviction, because you are following your bliss. You're doing what you came here to do. This is who you are, okay? You are true to yourself to the largest degree. Over here, you're just never going to fit in. You couldn't if you tried. Once you step into this journey, you guys, where you give yourself this free rein to experiment, explore, and bring your gifts to the world. That's where that comes from. It only comes from this urge, this bliss that you follow, this connection you have. Over here, it's nothing but a wasted life. That's really how it would feel to you. And to go back to it, because we've all experienced it, and to go back to it is like, I just can't drag myself out of bed in the morning. I don't want to be here if this is all there is to it. And so I'm going over here and I'm going to follow this with my heart and soul. And I'm going to get by. I'll get by somehow. But I'm not going to sell out to this over here just so I can pay the rent,
And these shoulds that society and people force down your throat, okay? As you're starting from the time you're graduating from being a baby to being a small child.
Yeah.
Okay, not a new person, but now you're not a baby anymore. They are the ones who live by comparisons, and you touched on it there that if you live by these comparisons and you follow that should road, what those long term, what those shoulds cause are things, a miserable life while you're in it.
Yeah.
At the end, it's a life of compromise.
It is, Ray.
And regrets at the end.
It is. And you know who you really wind up being the most upset with? Is yourself. Because the only one you can really blame for this, who can take responsibility for this, is you. You're the one at that early age that's made the choice either one way or the other. You could have gone over here for a while and said, I'm going to jump ship and I'm going to start being true to myself. I cannot do this. And I'm going to come over here. I don't care what the pressure in society is. It's not why I came here. Once you're clear about that, it's a very subtle, powerful awareness. Once you are clear about why you're here, you'll no longer long for the material attachments. That's really what goes on over here, associated with what could draw you over there. It just could never work. Anybody who is over there that maybe you want to be with, it won't be worth it. The two of you would have to come up with some kind of formula that made both of your lives work, okay? Not just you have to go way over here or they have to come way over here, but something that did this. It's connecting. You've got to bring them back together and reconnect. That's what this is about.
Okay, here's one that maybe people haven't thought about. You get to this crossroads in your life, whether it's when you're young or middle-aged or older, and do you have to choose? Some people do nothing.
Okay, you know, some of you, that what happens when you don't do the choosing, right? You're going. You are never sitting static. You're either going backward or you're going forward. In this life, it's all in motion. So you're never going to be able to say, stop, and I'm just going to stay right here. It doesn't work like that. The fact that you didn't make a decision means that someone will make it for you.
These are the people, I think, that move against change. A crossroads is change. You have to change something about your thinking and go this way or that way. And if you don't do anything...
Okay, now the difference, Ray's talking about change. The difference between change, that perception, comes from just living in this world. When you're living from your bliss, from your urge, from who it is that you are, when you hit that crossroads, it doesn't feel like change to you. To you, it feels like just trusting what feels right. You're back to the truth center. You're back to this. And you're trusting. You may not have all the facts. You may not be able to reason everything over here. But you just trust yourself. You know what you know. And that's what moves you. Now you're in the flow. You're not changing. You're just moving this way or that, depending on what felt right to you at the time. All right, what was right, a right path for you to experience and learn. It's not change. It's just a continuum to you. To somebody over here, it interrupts what they had planned, what they had already in mind. So for them, they hit that crossroads like, and they're like, oh, you know, and oh, I got to make a choice, and everything's dramatic, okay, and emotional. For the part of you that came into this world over here that didn't throw it away, that remembers and works with that, it comes up on the crossroads and it just goes, and it just is one big continuum and continues on. And it feels great about what it did.
And there is no change, you're right. There is no change because you were always that person.
That's right. That's right, Ray.
You're not changing who you are.
No.
You're finding out more
You're
of who
flowing.
you are.
You're just going with the flow. You know, you hear that all the time. It's the flow.
I think the crossroad, what interrupts people and irritates them about a crossroads is they're on the straight and narrow. Remember how they say, stay on the straight and narrow. And your parents will tell you that, and your grandparents will tell you, just stay on the straight and narrow. You'll be okay.
Hold your head down and don't question anything.
Yeah, stay on the straight and narrow. And if you're looking off down the road, and there's just one road, and it's nice and straight, and it's narrow, and there's a pot of gold at that end of that road. That's what you believe. There's a pot of gold. There's a reward for me at the end of that. Now all of a sudden, I have this, and I have to go left or right. I have to follow my bliss, who I really am.
So I'm going to just...
Help me out here.
Ray brought me to a point here. You get to that crossroads, and how do you know? I talked about the litmus test, right? You get to that crossroads in your own life, and you feel your job, you lost your job, or your marriage is over, or something happened in your life that just causes you to have to make a decision, health or whatever it happens to be. The kids are grown now. They're out of the house. You don't need the big house. Changes are hitting you, all right, and options are coming your way. You hit that crossroads of making this choice or that. And how did you respond? What was the first thing you felt when you hit that crossroads? That's what you write into part 3 of the journaling part of My Guided Journey. That's the part 3 part, where you just keep track of what you're doing and what's going on in your life. Now, that may not be guidance, you guys, but that is your truth center speaking to you. That's guidance. That's your inner guidance. That's your inner guidance system. It's your GPS. You hit that crossroads, and how did you feel? Did you just go with the flow? Wow. If you did, you are doing great. If you hit that and you just went, ooh, and it just went, oh, that felt, oh my gosh, I have to deal with something here, and it hit you hard, and your head hurts, and all kinds of reactions, right? Write it in here. put it in here, part 3. Tell it before it goes away. Don't let it dissipate. Tell the truth. Put it in there. And as you move through, you're going to deal with that crossroads, okay? You are what you are. You can't go back and say, wait, can I do that again? I know I could do better. I know I could pass the litmus test if you let me try it one more time. All right.
Karmic mulligan.
It's not about that. When the truth comes through, you guys, when it comes there and it shows up, pow, it hits your truth center, write it in here. It's the only way. You are the only source of the truth that you can ever depend on, okay? Your guides will help you as you're getting more and more truthful with yourself and writing it in here. Part 3, the journaling part, after you're through the journey, all right? What we're working on today. You guys, you're going to get your life back. I can't tell you how important that is, because now what you're doing is, to sum this up, you can face what is. You're facing what is. You're not making it up anymore. You're not pretending. You're not just biting your lip and holding your breath and dealing with another day of shoulds. You are not doing it. You're getting yourself back now. And I'll tell you something else. The road of shoulds is filled with health problems. It's filled with all kinds of things that you never thought about. Nobody ever told you about it, but you did see your parents get 50, 60 and start falling apart. And you're going, really? You know, they followed the should road. They did everything right. And this is it. This is what I have to look forward to. I'm telling you, it doesn't work.
Driving around the country in an RV?
It doesn't work. There's no such thing as that working. You got to honor who you are. You came here to live an intended life, not a life that you were feared into. All right.
All right. So I've been making some notes as you were talking. So let's go back and recap a couple.
Ray is a great viewer, isn't he, you guys? He's great. I love this. He stays right with it. This is all, by the way, this is all improv. What we're working on here and what we're talking to you about is all improv, because, you know, the answers are there. This is what it feels like. When you're true to yourself, you'll always know what to do. You really will. It might take a moment with me through coaching or through any of the Facebook Lives or any of this, any live events. I'll take some time sometimes to take a pause, and I'll just go, bear with me, because I'm like taking that little breath. You know, it's the right thing to do. It's what I know I need to do to really start feeling that powerful, good feeling again. It's authentic, it's real. And from that comes through that wisdom to you. And so I will take those pauses, and I'm not having a senior moment. I'm having a moment where I can just really, really build that back up again, all right, and let that come through to you.
In fact, the only scripted part of what we do is what the guides tell you to write.
Right, or ask me these questions. So, that is, and that is something that I write with the guides as we write this together, and remember, so you can really, really wrap your head around this and go, you know, I remember. In fact, this is one of them, number 9, that I actually cried. I cried for this one, because this is where the crossroads, this is where I know that first decision that you made as a little kid, this little kid in part 9, on page 9, he is about 6, 7, 8 years old, something in there, all right? And that's when we make a major decision that nobody ever noticed, that we felt either forced to make and felt real sad about it, because when you're forced to make a decision, you're leaving something on the table. You walked away from them. That's sad. And the minute you do it, I mean, I felt the whole thing. I watched the kids in my school do this, and they were so sure about themselves because they were so on the should road, that they had made that decision and split off. There were very, very few that followed their bliss on the must road. Very sad.
That's right. And that's all from the point of view of the oddball in the crowd.
You know, in Guided, it talks about the price I paid, you guys. I paid a price, and it was not easy as a kid to pay the price I did. But I would have paid it all over again, because without them, I wouldn't have made it.
Okay, so I've been making some notes as we went. Let's do a little recap to make sure we didn't miss anything, okay? So Crossroads is a turning point in your life. It's door number 1, door number 2. These crossroads show up specifically when you transition from being a new person, a baby, into becoming, going into school. Elementary school, that time.
Yeah, it's about that time.
Okay. Does it mean that you're ready for that transition? Probably not, because you're struggling with it at that point.
Well, what it does, you guys, is it brings out your, how to say this? For the child that goes down the should road, they, as opposed to the one that goes over to the must road, the one that they feel the urge to go on. That child may not suffer, the one that followed their urges, for several years. They may not even notice that the kids are laughing at them or making a fool of them or whatever. They don't even care. They're so involved in what their bliss is. They don't even care what these kids are doing. That would describe me to a large extent. I really, and they'd say to me, Linda, you don't get it. And the ones on the should road, right? And I just go, yeah, you know, I don't understand what I don't get, but I'm not too worried about it because I'm having a great time over here. See you later, you know? Didn't think about it a lot. But as you get older, you do see what it is. The teachers then come after you. And, you know, it becomes obvious that you have made a different choice. But when you're a child, Ray, and you make that choice and you split off, why did I make that choice? That was crazy. I mean, very few kids ever made, I don't know anybody who made that choice like I did. Nobody in my school made that choice, not to the degree that I did. I came in like that. I was forced to get my act together at 20 months old when my mother almost killed me, and all my guides showed up all around me, and I saw what they saw when they looked at me. I saw myself. I knew who I was. I had that instant life review before you get here, life review of why I was here, of the whole point in being here. So I could not go the should road, even if I tried to do it. I tried in Guided. It talks about the few times I gave it a shot. All right, didn't last more than an afternoon, and I just gave it a try. I tried things, you know, because after all, that's what you do when you're on your path and you're following your bliss, and you're in this big continuum where you do one thing after another. There are no mistakes. There's no stumbling. It's just like, oh, well, I wouldn't do that again, but I'd do that again. That was interesting. Let's try this and add that to it. I mean, you're just a big scientist in your own laboratory, right? So that's where I was. So these kids over here had very little pull for me. I mean, yeah, I didn't like being talked about, but oh well, you know, I mean, I was so invested in this over here that I didn't have time for it. The kids that choose this, they have to, what they do is they come into this life to prove their soul, to prove something to themselves, to get lost only to find themselves again. Now, they may not do it in this lifetime, find themselves again, but they will find themselves again. They all will. And it may not happen in your time frame. If it's not going to happen in your time frame and you're being true to yourself and you're in the flow in that continuum, then go find some new friends, because this will do nothing but frustrate you over here.
All right. I made some more notes. The shoulds are what's expected by society. They're pretty unremarkable in their own, because everybody's done it before. And,
I know.
There's other people's agendas, and there's a lot of judgment involved in the should route.
What does that mean?
Well, you should do this, and if you don't, then we will feel this way about you, or
Okay.
we will act this way toward you.
Yeah. See, it's even hard for me to connect with it to this day, you guys, because I to even think like that Ray's very good at these questions, thank God. But to even think like that and just be in this world and that's all there is just not interesting to me. It never has been. So, and I pay my price. I have a price that I pay. I mean, I could have gone out and I've made a lot of money in my life, all right? And I know how to do it. I talked about that in Guided. I've done it many times. So what? Okay. I mean, really, that I know after doing it enough times too, where that's not why I came here. It's fun. I mean, having money and doing stuff, but it's not what it's cracked up to be. Being true to yourself is the golden egg. It's why you came here. It's the holy grail. That is why you came here. This other stuff is distractions. That's all it is.
The judgment thing's interesting because there's a lot of judgment on the should side by the people who follow that road, but there's also judgment on the must side, but it's your own judgment of yourself.
Okay. What that is I'm going to change the word from judgment to discernment.
Discernment, there you go.
Okay,
that's
so
good.
When you're over here in this world, it's judgment. It's very stark, black and white, cold. Discernment is observation. It's just getting more information. So when you move more into your urge, that you've got more to work with. You know more. You're not coming from thinking and reasoning it like you are coming from knowing. And then you feel it here. You take the knowing, it runs through your truth center, right? The center here, the truth center. And you know what? You know what to do. It's real easy. It's primitive. That's what I want to say. It's primal. It's what we've always done.
It's believing in your own talents and your gifts, that you have enough to do what you came here to do.
You never question it.
So here's an interesting observation where people judge somebody who goes down that must road. They have to follow their truth. They have to follow their bliss. And it's the odd little child who always won the science fair or had a little fuzzy bug collection in school, and they made fun of it, and that person achieves greatness. Oh, they became a visionary.
Okay, so here's what Ray's saying. When you follow your urge, it may not always be an easy path. Okay, in other words, you're following your urge. It doesn't mean you're going to be a savant. You came in with natural abilities to just pull it all off, all right? And you did it right first time, every time. No effort, all right? That's not true. So don't expect that your journey through following your urge and your bliss is going to be a snap. You may find that your biggest challenges are on that road. But you know what? Your soul, that part of you that came here, that needs to work it out. It needs to work through it. It needs to figure out what that is for you, your answers.
Right. It's like that person went from becoming the oddball to becoming a visionary.
When you have to really reach for something, but you really want it, okay? You know it's who you are. It's what you need to do. When you really, really reach for it, what you can accomplish. And the way that you accomplish it is so unique. It's like your own brand, your own method. And that's what comes out of it. That's where these great ideas and inventions come from, you guys. It comes from the person who had to struggle, go in there and struggle to find it, but they find it.
I even drew a little map. See my little map I drew? If you go the should road versus the little must road, here's the difference. You go left and you go down the should road, you get the same old, over and over again, generation after generation.
You know what it is? Can I interrupt that for a minute? Without you losing your train of thought. What that is if you think about it, it's outdated. If it's a generation old, it's really outdated now. Maybe a generation old, a couple generations ago, wasn't quite so outdated as it is today. That's really what's
your college degree is outdated by the time you graduate.
It's the truth. So things are moving so fast that's what's really, really wrong with that now, Ray, you know?
So you go down the should road, You get the same old that your parents had, maybe their parents had, and guess what all those repercussions of going down that road become? The good old days that everybody talks about when they get together. Oh, you remember the good old days? The good old days means they all went through the same struggles that everybody else did.
So you have somebody to talk about.
A kindred
All that way.
spirit.
Okay, so what's the point in the question?
They're stuck in their thinking moving forward, suggesting that their children go down the should road.
Okay.
And they're stuck.
Okay, their kids when their
with
kids,
their stories.
Yeah, their kids see this, and they look at it and go, really, and just that would be enough to sign off the should road right there, for a lot of people. But sometimes it takes a little bit longer. Because what happens is, as you get deeper and deeper into your life, moving along, now you got married, you have kids, you have a house and everything. You made all these promises to these people. So what do you do now that you changed your mind? What happens now? So that's another dilemma. The longer we take, part 2, page 1 through 18, we're on page 9 today, Crossroads. The longer we take to face all this, to get real with ourselves, that's what this is about. This is the book that will get you real with yourself so you can start living the life you intended before you got here. The sooner we do this, you can be 50. 50's not too late. You can be 60. 60's not too late. It's never too late, you guys. Because if this is one big continuum, in other words, you come from somewhere, you continue on, you find yourself in this world, and when this experience is done, you continue on to where you came from. It's the same place. In between, sandwiched between that, you have this experience here on the planet, here on the earth. But you go where you came from. You go right back into your wholeness, all right? So you do get put back together again. Whether you do it in this part of the continuum or the transition over to the other side, which is where you came from. So why not just get it right now? Why waste another moment? Why waste any more energy, any more caring about what someone's going to say or think? You didn't come here to live their life, all right? You came here to live your life. So why waste another moment? You're going to disappoint some people. Okay, you probably will.
You don't want to disappoint yourself.
Get over it. Tell them you're sorry, and let them know that you're working on your stuff. You're going to get this right. And believe me, the people in your life, they don't like all this stuff you're about. They don't. They'd like to see you clean some of this up. And so you let them know, I'm working on my stuff. I know I'm not easy to be around sometimes. I'm working on it because I'm dissatisfied, because something's missing in my life, and I can feel it. My truth center tells me something is missing, all right? So I'm working on that, and some of this you're going to like, some of this may not like. I hope you still love me in the end, and life goes on, you guys. That's it. That's what this is about. You're going to get it. You're going to get it while you're here, or you're going to get it once you transition out of this world. You're going to get it, but it just might take a little longer, but it doesn't have to. You can cut your losses right now, and you can get right into the meat of your life, the reason you're here, and start feeling alive, all right? That's what this is about. That's what this is about. It's the rewind, so you could see where you came from, so you know where you're going.
Okay, before we wrap this up, I wanted to mention like the 3 times in your life where you meet these big crossroads. We talked about the first one, when you're transitioning from a baby into a young child.
Right, like you're 5, 6, 7, something.
Right in there, where you start wondering why is everybody telling me what to do and how to think.
Right, that's the first big one.
Right, next one comes around about 19, when you have a choice to make. Here's your shoulds and here's your must. Well, you should go to college. You should get a good degree. You should get a good job. You should get married. You should have kids. You should
maybe or maybe not.
Well, those are the shoulds.
Right. Those are the
shoulds. The people who live by comparisons.
Right. Yep.
If you're going to be a world citizen that people love, this is what you have to do. Now, suppose you want to be a concert pianist, or a poet, or a writer, or an artist, or a doctor, or a plumber, or whatever. Where you choose to channel, I'll use that word, channel your energy at that age, 19 roughly, when you get out of high school. And you can channel it to go this way and be like everybody else, or you can channel it this way and become an independent person who you really like.
Consequences either way.
There's consequences either way. You could decide I'm going to be a musician. And you might struggle all of your life. But you might become a superstar.
Ray happens to know this particular event in his life really well. We'll get into that at some point in the future. Okay, what's the third one, Ray?
Third one is around the age of 52. Mm-hmm. And what about 52?
Okay, so these are 3 times in your life that you're going to hit this crossroads. I'm not going to get into the whole thing of the 52, but it's the 3 times in your life. That first 5, 6, 7-year-old time, that 19-year-old going out on your own, striking your own way in life, and you make a decision, and then 52. Once you've lived through all that early part of your life, and you're a seasoned veteran now, you know what's going on. That's when a lot of people go back and reclaim this over here, what they left behind, what they threw away. That's when that happens. That's when a lot of people step into this. Although we do have a lot of people in their 30s stepping into this because they're on the should road and they're going, oh my God, I do not want to further this. I do not want to wind up to be 52 and not have already figured out what my way is in this world and waste all that time. Okay, another 15 years or whatever. And they don't want to. And more people are waking up. That's because the energy of the planet's speeding up. Everything's speeding up. If you notice how people will say, well, people have a short attention span. They really, there's a reason people have a short attention span. And that's because the energy of the planet's speeding up. Everything on the planet is speeding up. So you've got to get more done in the short amount of time you have, right? Short attention span, I say that it's more like there's just less time to get it done. So fast forward, let's do, give me the quick of the deal and let's move through it. That's what this does. It moves you right through it. This isn't long and drawn out. This is fascinating. As you recover yourself, uncover why you came here and bring it back to life, maybe for the first time in your life. You may not completely get off the should road. You may not. You've got obligations. You've got kids. You've got whatever. But you know what you're going to do? You're going to spend a good part of your time figuring out what you came here to do. That's where this comes in. And it will bring you back. It will wake you back up.
Yeah, that urge, Linda calls it the hole in your soul. The urge gets so strong around 52. I mean, your kids are teenagers when you're in your 40s, okay, and they've gone to college and they're on their own now.
You do start to feel it in your 30s. You start feeling something go. The way Ray explains it, when he was like 35, he started feeling like a corporate guy.
A spiritual guy in a corporate world.
Yeah, a spiritual guy in a corporate world.
I was the oddball.
And he started, going to weekend events that, self-help, self-development events that would help him understand what this was. He felt he was definitely at a crossroads, and he felt he was being pulled into the urge road, on the must road. Okay, but it was still another like 15 years before he honored that completely. And actually 20 years before he completely made the transition. But he was making it. That was his continuum. That's how Ray found his way, okay?
But I got pushed. It was there all the time, but
yeah,
the shoulds kept piling up.
Yeah.
Well, you have a family. You should do this. No, you shouldn't do that. You have obligations. You have this.
Right.
You have that.
So you felt stuck.
And then I got pushed. I got fired.
Yeah.
And didn't have a job for the first time in my life.
See, this is the crossroads, you guys. This is the crossroads. Ray made a decision that was completely different and foreign to him, ever doing what he did before. And he made that leap, even though he had a huge mortgage, a wife.
2 huge mortgages.
A wife, a son, 4 cars. This guy was out of his mind with
shoulds.
With stuff, right, with shoulds. And a kid going to a private schools and all this kind of stuff. So no matter what's going on in your life, he's proof. He's a living example that no matter what's going on in your life, you can go with your urge. You can, and it will pay off way better than the should road ever could.
You can change directions.
It does work. It does. You've got to go in, man. When you decide, you make your mind up. If you're walking through this, keep going. Don't stop. Keep on it. Put the pros and the cons together. Here's the pros, here's the cons. This is what's working for me. I've got this much strength in me to pull this off. Here's the things working against me: the mortgage, the kids, the house payments and everything, whatever. Okay, and so how much runway do I have so I can work with my urge and see if I can't launch this thing before this all collapses over here. You got to look at the situation with your eyes wide open, but based on where you are right now. And if you can't move in that direction right now, and you've got to stay with the shoulds for a little bit longer, you can still work on yourself.
Oh yeah.
You can still get this work done, so you get a better understanding of who this is that you are, so you know where this person wants to go. So that person can go there in this lifetime while you're still here, before it's too late, before you miss it.
Amen.
That's it.
Don't wait to get pushed.
That's what this is all about.
It's pretty amazing that I lost something I had all my life, a job. I was the kind of person, when I was 13, I had 3 jobs.
I know.
I had jobs all my life.
He was shooting himself, all over the place.
Oh yeah, there we go. I should do that. I should do that. Now I should get another job. And then all of a sudden I didn't have any job for the first time ever.
But you know what? I got to say something about Ray.
How did I respond?
In his jobs that he had, he always fit in the one assignment, or whatever you want to call it, that he had passion for, that his urge drew him into, and that was being a musician. He was a
closet jazz guitarist,
and he was a professional musician for 15 years, and it was very hard on him financially. And for Ray, on his path and on his journey, this is before we met. He said, I just can't handle not having the money that I seem to need, a kid, a wife and everything. I just I can't follow my bliss and feel blissful under that pressure. That's what he decided, all right? And you may decide the same thing. This is a very sober Facebook Live about how you find yourself and get yourself on your right path and get into your bliss. But you guys, it may take some time. You become aware of it first, okay? You start working through it, all right? You get your head around this. And you start, it's like building up your momentum inside of you and on paper and figuring out exactly what it is that is leading you toward. You have a pretty good idea, and then you know what you want to do. Now you've got a reason to work through this other stuff, to get through it. Find a conclusion for it all, so it can release you and you can get around to following your bliss and living the life you intended. That's the whole point here. But be patient with yourself. Don't expect it just one thing to stop and another one to start. This is a continuum. Things flow and move. And it should be something that moves gently and smoothly and sometimes abruptly, and sometimes chaos, but it's just part of it. You'd have that on the should road anyway. You'd have chaos and all this. It would be there anyway. So you may as well be experiencing all that while you're doing something that means something to you.
So before we wrap it up, we'd like to say something about all the nice comments we got tonight. People are reading your book at work, and your book has changed their life. And Sherry thinks of your story often. She left the corporate world last year, and she feels that she woke up, and your book was part of that journey.
Wow, God. You guys, I may not have mentioned it enough, but this is available on the Linda Deir website. for free. It's a free download. It's the companion journal to Guided, my guided journey. Okay, so with love, that's why this was created. And we're doing these every Thursday. Thank you for the comments.
Thank you for supporting her work.
Yeah, I do it with my heart. I do it something that is very unique. And I know it's unique. I don't try to be unique. I just, it's been my life. I don't know how else to do it, but tell what I know and help share it and help you guys, get your life back and recover from all this stuff that knocked you off your path. And I know it knocked you off your path to some degree, but you get this back because this is why you came here. And you want, in the end, when we move on from this world, you guys, and we transition into the continuum that we go to next, the one we came from, where we reside most of the time, when you transition, you'll transition fully. You will not resist it. You will not have regrets. You will not feel like you weren't appreciated. When you follow your bliss and you do what you love, you are appreciated. That's the best feeling. What can I say? We love you guys.
See you next week. Pierre.
Okay, next week, same place, same time. I'm going to wrap this up. I have written a series of videos in support of the readers of my guided journey, the companion journal to my flagship book, Guided. Each week on Facebook Live, I talk about your journey back to the beginning when you first made contact with your spirit guides and angels. They haven't gone anywhere, even when you ignored them or didn't realize they were there. In these Thursday Facebook Live videos with me, you learn how to journal your hidden knowledge, documenting your life journey, revealing who you are and why you are here. When you follow this, you not only get your life back, but you will never doubt yourself again. See you next week.